So there was this big bash.
A party?
Party? Bash? Whatever, in the city. That's what we came down for, the thing, this get-together. That's why we did it in the first place.
It's our old ward, second ward. I got a flyer in the mail.
Couple wards together, I think. Mixed, and meeting in the city. Ballroom over at the plaza.
Which sounded really nice, you know?
It's expensive.
I mean elegant.
But that's cool. Manhattan, always have a good time there, right?
People from our high school were gonna go.
Because we're juniors up at BC. So, like, there's still lots of guys from our high school.
Seniors now, mostly.
All these seniors, guys like that, who we're still in touch with. Well, friends, you know.
This was right after midterms.
Susie, you're ahead. Almost. 2 semesters. We're juniors, but nearly a year. Both going to BC.
Boston College. You know, we almost didn't get in. I mean, both of us.
But we decided, early, like back at Greeley, sophomore year maybe, that we do college together.
And Boston seemed about right, you know, 4 hours from home.
It's a little over 3 if you push it. I don't like to go crazy with my VW, but it's only about 3 hours if you're really moving. Like 3.5.
And it's just beautiful up there. I mean, Massachusetts, New England, it's all just gorgeous this time of year. Leaves turning.
It just sounded really great. Weekend back in New York, stop in, maybe say hi to folks. Be good to go down for a couple days.
So I contacted the 3 people going to school with us. Well, you know, from our stake. You know, 3 members who were going to BC as well.
One guy's even in my house. David's his name. Didn't really hang out with him at home or anything. Different ward. And plays lacrosse, but, you know, he's cool.
He's nice. Nice guy.
Ended up, we talked 2 other couples into going back with us. Guy from the house, this David guy.
We took his car down.
And a friend of mine, Tim. Eldard Freeman. Whatever. He's from my mission. He's a year behind me, but studying at BC, same time.
It's a beautiful red truck he had, or Jeep or something.
Because I had his old VW. I said that, right? I mean, it's great. 73 with the metal bumpers and all that, you know, but needs a tune-up. I'm not gonna drive 4 hours with all these guys.
So we all decided that we wanted to go in one car. You know, everybody wanted to be in this city at this hotel, live band and everything.
So 6 of us, a girl that's going out with this David from my fraternity, Karen's her name, I think. She was going too. She's a non-member, but going because she knew the city pretty well. Grew up just off the park, and, you know, they were getting along good. So it's 6 altogether now, 6 for the ride, and the V-dub's definitely out of the question.
David said that he would drive if we wanted him to.
He's got one of those Isuzu Troopers. It's roomy, big.
And we're all picked up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday.
Same weekend as preference up at school, but we hadn't planned on going, you know? So then Sue gets the flyer, and suddenly I'm rushing around, fighting for tuxedos, 10 minutes to 6 Friday afternoon. I ended up with a Perry Ellis, finally. It's a size big, but I got one. Looks okay, doesn't it?
It looked really nice on him. I mean, I had to put a safety pin in the back there in the vest, but once he had it on, it looked really nice.
We left him in the bags, the 3 of us guys, hanging in the Trooper for the ride. I mean, no sense getting it messed up for no reason, right?
Now, I had this dress that I'd been saving, all taffeta. You know, I'd been saving it for a special occasion like this. Did I mention that? Well, I still needed to find some shoes, but I thought the dress was perfect.
We missed the game. BC's first conference. It's away, but we could have watched it at our place with a bunch of guys. And we always order them pizza and everything. But we said no, jump in with all these people, road trip.
Tim's girlfriend, Patrice, I've known her for years.
With about a dozen overnight bags, tuxedos hanging from all corners of Dave's Isuzu. The girls decided to wear their outfits.
It was my black dress.
Sue's got this knockout thing. It's kind of... What's that called?
With a beaded inlay?
Jeweled, I think. On the top, you know, over her chest and down along the front, all these jeweled flowers. Not tue much, though. Not like she'd taken one of those bedazzlers to it or anything. No, it was chic, right? Classic lines. See, it's a dinner dress. It's a dress you wear to dinner, dining. Not something a girl would pick out junior prom, spaghetti straps clotting it all up. She looked great. Proud to be with her.
I knew it'd get wrinkled. I mean, I did. Taffeta is terrible for that, but it just sounded so wonderful, you know? Getting out at some Amico, middle of Connecticut, in this wave of taffeta. And I don't know, buying like a Milky Way or a can of soda and the attendant's mouth just hanging open at the sight of us.
I'm putting gas in. One time we stopped, I look up, I see nothing but chiffon and silk and whatnot, miles of it, going down the snack aisle. That killed me.
So I'm standing there in my stockings, carrying my shoes.
I'll always remember that. Her smiling at me through the glass there, a little bit of chocolate on her lips, and carrying her shoes.
It was gonna be a great party. I could feel it.
Ward usually threw a pretty good bash. I mean, times to go into the city. Had my farewell there. I went to Great Britain.
It was our anniversary.
Last minute, got her a corsage. Not the wrist kind, hate those. But this was beautiful. White, blossoms? I don't know what kind. They were white, I remember that.
I loved it. It was the softest pink. Well, it was. I mean, John thought it was white, but it was really the lightest shade of pink. Well, you know, the last shade of pink it could be before turning into something else. And you know what? He pricked his finger, John did, as he was pinning it on me. Pricked his index finger.
Stupid pin.
And then, just a drop, but he ended up with a little drop of blood on his shirt.
Couldn't even see it if you buttoned the jacket.
But see, in a weird way, it excited me, that blood. Is that stupid to say? I mean, probably, but it did. You know, it was just so stunning to look at, all that white on him and the bright of his shirt, and then this little splash of
red
blood on his chest.
Didn't get any on her dress, however. Nothing. Felt good about that. You know, I wouldn't want to ruin her anniversary dress.
6 years.
Oh, believe that? 6. Since the summer of our 3rd year of high school. Wow.
I saw him running on the track one day. Now, I lived 6 blocks away my entire life in seminary together, and I never really saw him until he was jogging one time.
I like to keep in shape.
He used to wear his hair short, trimmed up.
My dad cut it, believe that? 16 years old. He drags me into the kitchen every other Sunday. He was bishop at the time. Asked him if this wasn't considered work, hair cutting. But he just said I had a big mouth. Anyway, I could just count on the standard Sears portrait cut. I was always a little worried about my ears, stick out a bit.
So I see him running, and I mean really running. You know, just blistering by anybody who's just jogging or walking, and I don't know this guy. Oh, he's cute. Nice body. And I don't know him. You know, his hair is kind of long.
My dad was away for the summer teaching a survey course in lit over in London or some type of thing. I didn't really know or care. I could let my hair grow. That's what I saw coming out of the whole deal. My mom didn't mind at all.
So I put down my softball glove and my purse and all that, and I start running too. And you know, I can't really keep up, but I'm going a little slower or a little faster every so often, so he's catching me more quickly on every lap.
I knew who she was. She was dating a guy I knew.
That was over. We broke up like 2 weeks before, and he was, well, he'd kind of left the church, and there was this completely bad scene at a party, lots of screaming, and he was kind of drunk. So it's over. I mean, we're still calling each other, but it's definitely over.
I'd heard this. I mean, you hear everything sometime in your life, right? And this is something you keep up on in high school. Girls you secretly like but can't get at because they're dating somebody, maybe a friend. And so you file them away and hope the guy joins the army or gets a mission called a Laos or something, or held back in school even. And then you and she end up on the same floor, some dorm in Florida. The best would be a major football moment. Touchdown to take the state championship. Something majestic like that. You know, but anything. Camp counselors even would do. And she was that kind of girl.
So we're running together now, and he's pretending that he's winded and he has to slow down, and I'm just trying to keep up. And around we go. Sun going down, we're not speaking at all, and we just keep going around in circles.
Then he shows up.
We really had stopped dating. But he was just going to give me a ride home, you know, just friendly. Well, you know, because the track and the softball field are like 3 miles from my house.
He pulls his car right onto the track, like into the lanes. It's a nice new Sirocco, all black, that he got as a graduation gift from his dad. He was a year or so older.
I slowed down a little.
And I can see what's coming, because I know him. And We've had some laughs together. Not friends exactly, but friends of friends. That's what we are.
But I don't want to leave.
This is how we first got together. It's kind of a funny story.
So he chases me down onto the track, you know, because we just jog right by him. We go right by his car and everything, and we just keep on going.
Why am I going to stop? He's not my boyfriend.
We really had stopped dating. I mean, you just couldn't call it that anymore.
See, and he grabs me, right? He turns me, after grab me, he turns me and says, hey. And he's holding on to me about my size, and one of his nails is digging into my nipple, kind of holding my chest like he's got these like long nails, one hand.
He plays guitar. He's very good.
And this hurts. And I'm standing there thinking, this doesn't need to be happening. And I turn on him. I never spoke to him the whole time. I just turned on him, flipped him over onto the ground, and started pounding on his head. It's a surface track, so he's not getting too banged up, but I'm hitting him pretty good, and Sue is just standing there waiting.
I'd never seen this happen before.
Finally, he stops squirming around, and I hit him one more time. You know, high schoolers, right? Go a bit overboard in a fight. And I walk over and grab her stuff and give it to her, and we take off. Sirocco's still sitting there, people having to jog around it, sun dancing off the hood of the thing as we head home.
We walked all the way.
I noticed my reflection in it as we go by. Bloody nose, him grabbing at me.
I had like 2 huge blisters the next day.
And I kissed her, standing there on her porch. Still didn't say a word, but we've been dating 6 years since then. I never heard back from the other guy after that. No, I shot baskets with him once about a year ago over at the elementary, and well, he didn't seem so mad or nothing.
Sometimes we fight. I mean, we do like anybody else, or break up, whatever. John started dating someone freshman year, and I met this guy in my biology class. John was on his mission. It didn't last. We're getting engaged this summer. We already planned it.
Point being, it's our anniversary, right? And we want to have this great time and whatnot. Just make it all special. Weekend in the city. Girls want to go shopping in the village, if there's time, whatever. Hey, we talked about taking the train back up alone. Sleeping car. Nah, I'm kidding.
We get in, and we still have a few hours before the party's gonna start, so we all decide to use the facilities. You know, take a jacuzzi, whatever. And there's still plenty of time to get changed, and it's fun. I get back into my dress.
I'm tying up my shoes, lacing them up. She comes out of the bathroom. And like I said, this is 6 years we've been going together. And I'm still staring at the best-looking girl I've ever seen. I'm just completely in love, serious.
We've nowhere to go, the party's not until later, and there is nothing but possibilities wherever we looked. Now, I really felt that walking along.
And on and on and on and on. A couple hours pass. David's girlfriend, Karen, takes the lead at some point, walking us through the park, over by that one bridge, you know, the big pond by the Delacorte. The moon is smiling down on us. Romance hanging over a night like this out of some storybook, some tale by maybe Scott Fitzgerald or, you know, those guys. And I really do love this girl. That's the thing that's screaming out in my head right then.
He was holding my hand so tight.
There's a swan or two out on the water. Little breeze. October, but still warm. You know how that can be. Oh, perfect. It was a perfect night. And then, just off to our left, there's this like patch of woods. Off the path comes this rustling.
I thought it might be some teenagers or who knows what. We all started to walk a bit faster.
I'm not scared, but it's night, city all around. What else can you do? Girls with you, so we walk along. And these 2 guys, middle-aged guys, LL Bean shirts on and the whole thing, come out of the woods smiling. And I don't need a map to tell me what's been going on. Yeah, I don't.
It's just 2 men walking along. It was no big deal.
Anyway, off they head, arms linked together, and, you know, nothing we say is ever going to change what they are. But the party is great. It really is.
I haven't danced like that in so long.
It was like the beginning of a magical evening. Everything was right. It was pristine, you know? Soothing. just dance, the two of us. Dance for hours, round and round.
And they done the whole place. Well, I mean the room, you know, when we finally got inside and these blues and these golds and these great crescents hanging above us.
Like smiles, like the moon smiling down.
And we looked really nice, you know. We looked like a couple.
It was fun, back like that in the city. It's always fun. Saw a lot of guys we know.
My little sister was there. She was with some boy from Greeley. He's in debate. He seemed nice enough. She likes him.
We ran into Sue's sister. Did she mention that?
Hadn't seen her since August.
Younger sister, Maureen, with some kid.
He's not a member.
He was okay. Had a good band going. Reggae.
You know, I'd never been to the plaza before. I mean, I'd been past it, you know, shopping or whatever with my mom, but I had never been in it. It is tremendous. All this glass, huge white walls. It was like a cake. It was like a wedding cake that somebody had left there sitting on the corner. I mean, that's what it reminded me of. But the whole thing, you know, the trip and the dance and all, it made me sleepy.
Sue went upstairs to our room we'd rented with Karen and Tim's girlfriend, Patrice.
I've known Patrice since Sunbeam.
Said they wanted to take a quick nap, just a half hour, whatever, and then we go grab a bite. This is around maybe 1:30.
It's a king-size bed, gold comforter on it.
So we hung out downstairs a bit, talked to some people from home, David, Tim, and me.
And we all fall asleep together on that bed.
I was a touch bored, you know? The room was warm, lots of people we didn't recognize, so I suggested a walk. Let's head over to the park. There's about 6 or 7 guys all together. It was still nice out.
I don't remember what time it was.
So we're strolling around a bit over by the Paris Theater. One guy, younger guy, kicked over a garbage can. I mean, it happens. You know, you get together, doing stuff. No big deal. It's just garbage. 15, 20 minutes later, we decide to split up, right? A lot of the high schoolers want to get back to the bash. But us three, Tim, David, and me, no hurry. So we wander around, hanging out. After a while, we shoot over into Central Park, 59th Street entrance. We're looking around, talking. It's really dark in there. The only light was coming from some buildings way up. It's kind of exciting.
I thought I looked up at 2, maybe 2:15, but I couldn't be sure because we just kept on sleeping.
And then I saw them. Both of them. Those guys.
I was so tired.
They were saying goodnight. Well, no, not saying it exactly, but kissing. 2 men, grown men, standing in this park, public park, in the middle of New York, and kissing, like something out of a Clark Gable movie. Tongues out, and the arms around each other. You know, nothing else in the world matters to these two except finishing off the date. It's probably a big night at the symphony, or some foreign film. Who knows? But it's this, see you soon, and thanks so much. And their hands all where they shouldn't be. I mean, come on. I know the scriptures. Know them pretty well. This is wrong. We squeeze up against a couple of trees, off in the shadows. Tim's crouching on the ground watching all this. Out near the Rambles. Oh, man. Man, you read about it. Or you even see that film. What's it called? With the Superman guy? Death Trap, right? And you live with it. Don't love it, don't condone it for the world, still you go on living. I mean, live and let live, whatever. But this, I figure, is flaunting it. I mean, as much our park as theirs, and we're in town one night, that's all, one, and we gotta witness this? Men old enough to be our fathers? I mean, middle-aged? And clutching at one another like Romeo and Juliet? They whisper something, chuckle for a second, hand on each other's bottoms. I start to feel sick. I mean it. Nauseous. And it's a last peck on the cheek. And one disappears down this trail, headed for the west side. He's gone. The other, one like my father, glances around. He's taking in the night, I guess. Big smile up at the moon. And he kind of casually strolls over to this men's room, 50 yards off. It's a concrete building with the steps down into it, whistling while he goes. He was whistling. I don't even stop to think this through, but I motion the other guys to follow me.
I thought about getting out of my dress, but I couldn't move. We were all just sleeping so peacefully. And did you know that Patrice snores? She does a little.
As we're moving down the landing into the restroom, I glance over at Tim. He's got that look. Recognize that look anywhere, and he's starting to smile.
I don't even think I dreamed that night.
Before going in, I told the guys to hold off, all right? Wait till they get my signal. That's the plan. Wait for me to flush them out, make sure no one wanders by. When I get inside, it's like another world. Walls are exploding with graffiti. Place stinks. 2 bulbs burnt out. Some old dude curled up asleep in the corner. And our friend's legs, I spot, patiently sitting in this stall, waiting. Not a care in the world. I slip into the booth next to his, start fumbling with my belt and this, that. Like clockwork, this guy's hand comes up under my side of the partition. His signal. Pink fingers wiggling up at me. Imploring. I notice this thin gold band on his little finger catching the light. So, I lay my open palm in his. And 2 minutes later, we're standing up near the mirrors. These big pieces of stainless steel, really. Standing, sizing each other up. Small talk. Name's Chet, he says. And I don't even bat an eyelash as he moves in. His lips playing across my cheek. Let his tongue run along my teeth. And a hand. Free hand. Tracing down my fly. I just smile. Smile. I even lick his chin for a second. For a single second, I see his shoulders relax. Then I whistle. I let out a whistle that sends him stumbling back, blinking and kind of waving his hands in the air as Tim and Dave appear in the doorway. He looks at them, looks and comes back from his fantasies long enough to touch down on Earth. A flicker in his eyes, realizing no good can come from this, and starts babbling. This Chet. It's probably a VP, some bank on Park Avenue, and he's babbling and wetting himself like an infant. I don't remember exactly, but I think he even got on his knees, down on his knees, begging, pleading. My first shot catches him against the cheek, just under his eye. He slams into this sink. It's all blood and snot pouring down. With so many of us tearing at the guy, it's hard to get off a clean punch, but I know I connect a few more times. I feel his head, the back of it, softening as I go. Just find a new spot and move on. Tim kicking him long after he's blacked out. We feasted on him like carrion and left nothing but bones. Finally, we start to relax a bit. Exhausted, spent, looking at what we've done. I mean, this man's not moving. He may never move again, and we know it's time to leave. Oh, believe this, old guy in the corner sleeps through it all. Before we go, Tim leans into it one more time, takes a little run at it, smashing his foot against the bridge of this man's nose. I see it give way, just pick up, move to the other side of his face. Wow. And then it's silence. Not a sound. And for the first time, we look over at David, Tim and me. Yeah, I mean, really look at him. With us, Tim, myself, that's one thing. It's unspoken, our bond. But we don't know David. I mean, don't really know him. What's he thinking? And then, as if to answer us through revelation, he grabs the nearest trash can. It's this big wire mesh thing, raises it above his head, and whispers, "Fag." I'll always remember that. Fag. That's all. And boom! He brings the can down right on the spine of the guy, who just sort of shudders a bit, expelling some air right on his back as I'm reaching down, pulling the ring off his pinky. I told you I noticed it. And then Tim does the most amazing thing. I'll always remember this. This will go down in the record books. There, with the three of us standing over this guy's body, Tim takes out his keychain, opens the little cylinder he's got dangling on the end of it, and dumps the last of his oil, consecrated oil, on this dude's forehead. I'm not kidding. Dumps it and starts offering up a short blessing. I'm getting delirious. I mean, you know, this is like almost surreal. And halfway through, Tim's praying along. We all start giggling like schoolboys. We're howling, tears running down, can't catch our breath. We find it also funny. That's how we leave him. We slip out one by one, running back towards the plaza, whooping it up like Indians. War cries! Woo! 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 Running with just a trace of moonlight, dancing off the pond as we go.
The phone woke me up.
We called the room from the street. Wanted to take the girls out to breakfast. Say they'll be down in 15 minutes. We waited outside.
I got the other girls up. Oh, it took a minute, but I got them up. And I felt really refreshed. I did.
Dave's walking around on the curb talking to himself. Tim pulls me aside, asks me. He wants to know one thing. What? I say. He wants to know why I touched the guy. Let him kiss me. See, he'd seen it happen. He glanced inside and seen it. But I didn't know. I didn't have an answer. Isn't that strange?
It was so quiet in the lobby as we were leaving that I started to tiptoe out. Isn't that funny?
I couldn't answer him. But he never asked me again after that. He didn't. He pointed out to me, though, that my shirt had blood on it. A misting of blood, probably as I was getting the ring off the guy. So, my tux is covered. Gotta think quick. I asked Tim to hit me in the face, give me a bloody nose, so I could explain it to Sue. Only hurt for a second.
We all meet in front of the hotel, and I see John's face. Ew. All cut up like it was. See, he'd been racing on the fountain out front, and he slipped and fell, scraped himself up, blood on everything. Silly games.
Had a great meal. You know, you can't get those German sausages for breakfast. You know, the big fat ones, anywhere but Manhattan. You can't.
So I'm eating my French toast, you know, just eating along, when all of a sudden I notice a glint in my water glass, a spark of light. John had put a ring in it, the most beautiful gold ring, and I loved him so much at that moment.
Happy anniversary, I said.
It was a little big, but it fit pretty well, and it had a wonderful leaf pattern all the way around it.
It looked nice on her. I liked it.
And I kissed him right there in front of everybody, and he blushed a bit, and we all laughed, and oh, I just can't tell you what a wonderful weekend we had.
We did end up taking the train back up, just Sue and myself. Dave dropped us at the train station, lots of thank you and see you Monday. Tim even gave me a hug goodbye. First time he's ever done that.
It was my idea, the train.
And we saw our parents, stopped in Sunday, and even made it to our meetings back at the ward. That was really nice.
I like Relief Society so much better at home.
Had dinner with the folks in the late train up to Boston.
On the way back, And it's funny, I probably shouldn't even bring this up, but there was this fight. Well, it really wasn't a fight. It was more like this argument between this man and his girlfriend, lots of yelling, and she stood up and started to pull on her coat. Well, this guy, I mean middle of a crowded compartment, backhands her. He did.
He knocked her up against the window really hard.
And everybody got really quiet, and I could feel John tense up, you know, getting all tense. And this couple was, well, they were kind of dirty looking, and, well, they just seemed like those kind of people. Well, I don't know what I mean by that exactly, but they were. So I say to John, I whisper to him, I say, let it go. And you know what? He didn't so much as bat an eyelash. He just kept on holding my hand and playing with the ring on my finger, and that made me so happy.
I could see he'd given her a bloody nose.
And they pretty much quieted down right after that, so it's no big deal.
Anyway,
we are getting engaged this summer for sure. Did I tell you that?
and finally, as we tumbled along towards Massachusetts, it's nearly midnight. I could feel Sue fall asleep against my shoulder, all warm, protected.
I hope it's a fall wedding. You know, I always think that those are the most beautiful.
But not me. I couldn't drift off. I just couldn't do it. So I sat up, watched the lights dance by, and the moon grinning down on us. And you know, I started whistling to myself. I did.
I was sleeping. Well, you know, sleeping there on John's arm. But I swear I could hear music.
Not loud. I mean, I don't even recall the tune. But I was whistling. I was. That much I remember.
The most beautiful music. It was like the sound of angels calling us home.
Can I just speak? Is that okay? You know, I gotta sort of ease into it, you know, because, well, I was never like this major talker or anything. I like to keep things to myself. I mean, some people call it private or whatever, but it's really just like being kind of inward, right? I'm an inward kind of person. Well, speaking of that, you can hear me okay, right? I guess so. You know, it's interesting, you know, how things just work out. Well, not out, I guess. I mean, not so much that as maybe just through, right? I mean, things get worked through or work themselves through, and we probably don't have all that much to do with it, you know? I mean, we like to think we do, though, right? Like, we're in on all the big planetary decisions and shit. But, You want to know what I feel? I think we're all just spinning around out here completely out of whack with no way of ever getting it right again or back on track or whatever. I mean, we just can't do it. I mean, see, we've been doing things wrong for so long now that it all starts to feel okay after a while, you know? Like, this is how it ought to be. Now, there's a Greek word for that. Yeah, I learned it at school. He taught it to me. Well, I guess I more like heard it, because if I'd have learned it, I'd be able to tell you what it is, right? I know it's Greek, though. That much I caught. I can't remember what it was. No, it's been too long ago now, but it had something to do with the world. You know, the whole thing coming off its axis or something and going off in the wrong direction from how it's all supposed to be. And it's the fault of people. Well, or mortals. Yeah, that's what my teacher said. Mortals are to blame. Now, see, he said that it was simply the fact, and, you know, I never could understand this. I mean, maybe I didn't listen good enough. I was never the queen of education. You know, but he said that it all stemmed from just our being mortals, right? So then every problem we got is from just our being mortals or humans. Well, that's what mortals means. You know, just because we are what we are, these mortals, it's like our fault. Oh, explain me that. You know, a lot of times I just couldn't make clear what was coming out of his mouth. He was really smart, though. Had like 2 college degrees or something, and he still wanted to work at public school. Yeah, I kind of admired that. Yeah, see, I was in his class, you know, one of them his first year, and it was great. Yeah, see, he took us, you know, my teacher did, on a bunch of stuff. You know, like field trips and museums, and we went up to Chicago one time. That was fun. You know what's funny? Is he hit on me, my teacher did, on one of those trips. Yeah, it was at the Maritime Center. Scared the shit out of me. I mean, I didn't even know what he was doing at first. I mean, okay. I did. No, but I was like 13, and I mean, that's just not what you're expecting at that age. Oh, or maybe it never is. He came up behind me at the observation tank, right, where they got all the sharks and stuff. And see, there was this other teacher with us, and she wanted to take the rest of the children on down this passageway, you know, where they got this place where you can handle different sea stuff, like shells and crabs and stuff. And see, the shark tank has this dark room that's connected to it. Well, you know, so you can stand there and you can see without a glare all over the windows, and some of the kids are sort of scared. Yeah, but I was always interested in sharks and all that. I was. Well, you know how you have to pick your vocation in 7th grade? You know, they make you do that in junior high on this career day, right? And I chose marine biologist. I did. You know, out of all the other kinds of stuff they had there, I picked that one because, well, you know, I love the water. Always have. So my teacher says that it'd be okay if we stayed and watched, and we'd catch up later. Well, I got my eye on this one big hammerhead, right? Well, that's a species of shark. Yeah, you probably knew that. But he is darting in real close to the glass, this hammerhead is, and suddenly, I feel all this weight up against me. My teacher is pushing me forward with his body up onto the observation windows, and I can't move. Well, he never said anything while it was happening, I mean, to me. I could hear him whispering something about the tragic nobility of sea creatures, some shit like that. But all I can see, you know, because I can't turn it all the way he's got me held there, and all I can see is this shark. Well, you know, the one I'd been watching, and it is coming out of the murk and sweeping past me again. and again. And it's not till he's right on top of me, and then turned each time, that I can see his eye. And he turns past the glass right at the last second, and his eye just sort of rolls back, all white as he passes. Fuck, that was scary. No, I never forgotten that feeling. You know, his weight on me and watching as that hammerhead just kept circling around. Oh, what the hell, it's easy to scare a kid, right? No, but he wouldn't look at me after that. You know, my teacher. I mean, not even a glance the whole rest of the trip. And, you know, he was always real nice before. You know, and funny to me. I mean, not like in a bad way. I mean, not like inappropriately so or whatever. No, he was just kind of open to me. You know, jokes and showing me pictures in magazines and like after that career day, right, he'd bring in undersea stuff and he'd hang it up in class and bringing in these little pieces of coral to look at. How? 'Cause fuck, I mean, I was 13, you know, and you know, it was nice to have somebody look at you and not say, pick up your socks. Oh, something like that. I mean, let's face it, 13's a pretty shitty age, right? No, but he wouldn't look at me after that. Oh, he did drive me home, though, from school. Yeah, he did do that. You know, 'cause I mean nothing. You know, not a look on the outing. He sits way away from me on the bus. But see, back at school, he's responsible for us, and all the parents are there. Yeah, this is a Friday. And, you know, my dad doesn't show up. You know, he doesn't show up. So we go into the office, and we call his work, and there's nothing at home, and, you know, he doesn't come. Hell, like a half an hour goes by, there's nobody at school but us, and we're sitting on this curb, right, waiting for my dad, and finally he says, you know, my teacher, that he'd drop me off if I want. Well, he drove this late model Peugeot. Yeah, I remember, because I had to ask him once to teach me how to say it. It was kind of a cream-colored Peugeot. He said that he would drop me off if I'd like that. That's what he said. If I'd like that. And in the car, man, like this was yesterday. I recall that there was this woman singing on the tape player, right? Like real soft and painful, like. And I remember, because I had to ask him who this was, you know, because, well, you know, this wasn't the Bee Gees. You know, and I had never heard anything like it, you know, so fragile sounding, you know. He said that it was Billie Holiday. Yeah, that was her name. Billie Holiday. And that's all he ever played. You know, and that was like the first thing he said to me in practically like 5 hours is Billie Holiday, and he smiled. Yeah, it was dark outside, but I could see him smiling there, and we're sitting at a light, right? And he says, you kind of remind me of her. A little. Now, you always seem just a little bit sad. Smiling, but sad. I like that. The fuck did that mean? You know, because you just don't say that shit to a 13-year-old, okay? You don't. Because she will be yours for life. No, I mean it if you do. She will be. And it's not in front of my house, but down from it like a block maybe. He pulls over. You know, they got this little florist shop there, and it's closed this time of evening, so he pulls into the little lot they got there, and he kisses me. Jesus. Yeah, he kissed me like, well, like I guess how you imagine it must have been back when they first invented it. You know, like back in the days of myths and shit, you know, when men were heroes and you could get kissed like that and you would wait a lifetime for him to return. No, you would. You know, because you could still, like, taste his kiss on your lips, like, years later. You know, because that was back in the days when kisses still meant something. Yeah, that's how he kissed me, like. You know, I don't want to elaborate or, well, you know, cover all of the relationship stuff a whole lot, because if you talk to him, you know it already anyway, right? And I don't know. I mean, that's just stuff. I mean, it's not like it's private. Well, I mean, it is, but I could talk about it here. It's just that I don't think it so much pertains to the rest. You know, we started seeing each other. Well, you know, as much as a junior high school teacher and a 13-year-old can see each other. And that's what we began to do, you know. We started doing that. And I know what you're thinking. You know, or have thought it to each other, laughing and stuff, that it's my own fault, or that he's some type of molester or whatever, but you really wouldn't be true about that. Either side of that. I found out about the baby. Well, you know that I was going to have one in late July. No, it was the 26th. And I didn't cry. I mean, I should have, right? Fucking kid myself. But see, sometimes you can go along and not feel like you're growing up at all. And then there's times when you age a ton. Like in a couple of seconds. You know? No, but I found out and I went straight to his place. I mean, I called first, but I went there and we discussed it all, you know. We talked for a long time and he seemed... And, you know, this kind of caught me because I didn't know what he was going to think, but he was all excited. You know, he said that he loved children. Oh, he could think of nothing better than having a son or something. I mean, he said we had to be careful. I mean, we both understood the situation, you know. But I promised him that I would never tell nobody who the father was, you know. No matter if my dad got real shitty about it, and he did. Believe me. You know, or school, or whatever, you know. I told him that I would keep our secret, and we made a pledge sitting there on his sofa. And I kept it. Now, he told me that day, he said that he had to go away for just a couple of weeks at the end of summer, you know, because he was finishing up his degree at Delphi. Oh, well, that's a university. And, you know, we'd make some plans. And that was hard. You know, because I was scared. I mean, I'm not going to pretend I wasn't. But you know, he said that getting his degree was a big deal and that it could help us, too. Well, so we talked. And we kissed. And you know, for being such a big guy, he was really gentle to me. And I went home. And I went to my house with our baby inside me, and I watched Hogan's Heroes on TV. You know, like I did every afternoon because what are you gonna do, right? I just need to get a sip of water. Okay. What else? Ah, the day I found out that he left his position at school. And you know, this was just by a fluke anyway. I mean, I was at the office, you know, the general office. It wasn't too far from my house. And I was bringing him a vaccination report on my brother. And the lady there, the secretary, she said, ah, I heard about your arts and science teacher at Gardner. Well, that's my school. And aren't we sorry to lose him? I didn't hear much else, really, you know. Well, except that she said, well, I guess they need good teachers in Phoenix as much as they do anywhere. No, but I didn't ask for an address or anything, see, because I was standing there, you know, suddenly standing there, 14 years old with a baby in me, and this woman is yakking on about my brother needing a German measles booster, and did I know if he had one yet? And I was frozen in time. You know, and I know that sounds like a fucking cliche, but I couldn't have moved if I wanted to. I was like... It was like the heavens opened up at that very second, and all I could hear was the universe. You know, and this woman is talking to me like I was her godchild, and all I could make out was like the howl of the cosmos. And you know what? It was laughing. It's like all of his attention was suddenly turned, and it was laughing down at me. Well, like I said, there's a bunch of shit that you don't need to hear twice, and I don't want your sympathy, okay? I don't. Well, and there's nothing really special about this story anyway. I mean, practically the only thing that's of any interest is that it happened to me. You know? Anyways, Billy. Oh, well, that's my son. Billy. William. Whatever. Now, he was born. He's a beautiful boy. No, I mean it. He's just quite great. You know? I know all moms go on about that stuff, but he... Well, without getting all shitty about it, I give birth in a bunch of years pass, okay? And I did finally make contact with his father. Yeah, I sent a couple of letters, and you know, he wrote me back right away. Well, this was like maybe a year, 18 months later, just enough time to make him wonder. And I was still only about 17 at the time, so he was pretty scared about the whole thing. I mean, at least that's what he said on paper. And he asked me if I could understand. Now, not forgive. Understand. Now, I told him that our pact was still safe, and like this wasn't like some kind of money thing, that I just wanted him to have, if he wouldn't mind so much, sort of a relationship with Billy, I mean, through the mail or whatever. I mean, I knew there was nothing left for us. And not after that, anyway. Well, but I sent a couple of pictures, and, we ended up doing it through a postal box, and And that's how he got to know his son. And that's how it happened. You know, a few presents now and again, and he had a son, and the son's mother still loved him, and she kept the secret the whole time the father was away. And I know that you'll think I'm just talking shit now, but honestly, if I'd have closed my eyes and thought about it, I could still taste his kiss on my lips. Even then. Well, the rest you know. On his 14th birthday, Billy and me, you know, we rented a car. See, we were living up in Utah by then with some Mormon relatives, and we drove all the way to Arizona to see his father. You know, we planned it, the two of us, by letter, and, you know, we'd agreed that it would just be this one time, you know, because he's married at this time. Married and teaching in Phoenix. Now, no children, though. Isn't that funny? No kids. You know, because his wife had a part of her uterus or something. I don't know, but it didn't work properly. You know, but they didn't adopt. No, they just kept on trying naturally over and over. And I thought that was the only real sad part of all of this. Oh, so one time when we were going to meet at this motel, you know, one time we were all going to, you know, this is running out. Okay. So we met at the room, and, you know, it's a terribly hot day. I mean, at least for December it was. Well, that's the way I remember it anyway. And he was there, as promised. Hardly seemed any older, which kind of sucked, I thought. You know, because look at me, right? And this is a big moment for Billy, you know. He's all excited, and we even hugged. And do you know that it was in that second, you know, he kind of leaned in to kiss my cheek. He kind of moved his head in towards me. And I don't know. I mean, maybe it was the light coming in the room, you know, the sun shining in. But I saw something there. Yeah, I saw something there in his eyes. He loved this boy. You know, and all that shit that he told me all those years ago, it was true about kids. He loved them. But also, he was satisfied. I could see all that satisfaction sitting in his face, you know, because he'd gotten away with it all. And I saw all of that shining in his eyes as he moved in to kiss me, because he'd beaten fate. And he'd gotten away with it. And after dinner, I know we had a bucket of store-bought chicken in the room, and Billy got a couple of packages. Yeah, he got a book of myths. Imagine that. Now, he said that he wanted to see us, you know, one last time before we left, and that he had to run off to school for some science fair or something, I don't know, but he said he'd be back. He promised he'd be right back. And the last time I saw him, he was standing by the door. He mentions that word. You know, that word, you know, the one. Well, whatever. Now, he says that word, and he steps out onto the balcony, and he is smiling. And he says, maybe it's not our fault after all. Well, we're just human, right? Oh, Billy was already in the bathtub. Yeah, see, we'd driven straight through, and I could could hear the water running in there. I mean, I knew he was in there. And Lady Day, oh, well, that's Billie Holiday's nickname, and that's what Billy liked to call her, Lady Day. She was singing on the tape player. Stormy weather. And I went into the room, the bathroom, and I could see him in there, through a little opening in the liner that he'd pulled shut. Oh, his eyes closed and steam coming up. Now, he didn't really struggle. Oh, couldn't actually. Oh, the shock of it, I suppose, when the tape player first hit the water. And it really only made like a quick kind of snapping sound, like the pop of a flashbulb or whatnot. And then the softer sound of him. Billy. As he kicked a couple of times in the water. And after, I just sat there on the linoleum, watching him sitting in that cloudy pool of water, his eyes open and so still. And I thought that if I closed my eyes, if I squinted, I thought that I could make out a Adakia. Adakia! Adakia! Well, that's a word! That's a word, the world out of balance. I mean, you can look it up if you want to, but I know that's the one. Yeah, I knew that it would come to me if I waited long enough. Well, now you know. At least you know what you wanted to know, right? Yes. I planned it. Yes. Maybe a lot longer than you thought, though, huh? Lots longer. Now, I can almost see him. Now, I can. Wandering around some playground at school. It's a Saturday, and he's stumbling over there all by himself, over by the monkey bars. Can't be consoled, right? Truth all spilled out now like it is, and tears running down. Yelling up at the sky, these torrents of tears, and screaming, top of his lungs, calling up to the universe. Why? Why? Over and over. And you know what? In my fantasy, there's never an answer. There never is.
You drink okay? Good, because there's plenty over there on the counter, so bottoms up, or whatever they say in the bar these days. I wouldn't know. Nothing but water here. But when I saw you in the lounge, I could tell right away you really enjoy the stuff. What is it that you got there? Some kind of red. What? Wine, is it? Yeah, looks like it. Wine. But really, do feel at home. Otherwise, all that stuff's just going to go to waste. And myself, I mean, the next person will drink it. You know, maybe. You know what I'm saying. Me, I hate to waste things. Anyway, when I saw you all alone like you were and going through that bottle, I figured that you would be a great listener. And that you wouldn't mind if I told you all this. And if I'm lucky, by tomorrow, you won't even remember it. I'm kidding, you know. But you're okay? You're comfortable? Good, good. All right, let me see. Where should I? Okay. I never used to travel. I pretty much stayed in the branch office, handled things over the phone, you know, did it all that way. I never cared much for all the driving around, meeting the clients and all that end of things. I mean, I did it when I first started, low man on the pole and whatever, but as soon as I got that old MBA, you know, foot in the door and all, I stuck to the desk as much as I could. I like it. That office, I don't know, feel, you know, the atmosphere. Faxes coming in, people zipping around. Emergency strategy sessions! All of it. It's like being a kid again and playing at war, you know, or that type of thing. You know, not exactly like that. You know what I mean. It's just a whole different thing out there. It is, the world of business. And all that dog-eat-dog, jungle out there stuff, that's become pretty cliche now. But it's true. You can really see what guys love about it. And I don't mean just guys either, because there's plenty of women in the field too, obviously. I mean guys like guys. You know, the way it's used these days, sort of all-encompassing. The stakes are real high. Lots of cash floating around you. And the pressure is just it's hot. Day in and out. Seriously, it is. We may play it like a game sometimes, but believe me, not a day goes by in business where you're not out for somebody's blood. But, hey, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, you're in, what? Sales? Yeah, I thought so. I mean, you look like... no, I mean that the complimentary. Look, I don't know you from Adam, or Eve for that matter, so it did look like someone who could sell things, if you wanted to. Look, the point that I'm making here is that it's a stress-filled situation I'm in. I'm not complaining, I'm paid for it. I wanted to lead into this thing the right way, that's all. And I'm not making excuses, okay? I'm not. So anyway, once I got my degree, and I had decided in high school not to go the mission route until after college, or once I was married maybe or something. I really wanted to get out there in the job market as quick as I could, which is a real paradox, believe me. Growing up where I did, it is. Because you're always taught to have this very strong work ethic, which is all fine. And the church and a lot of its members are very wealthy, very. And so you always have, you know, that example staring you in the face. But then at the same time, see, you get these mixed messages about doing missionary work and giving freely of yourself. Not that these can't walk together somewhat, but just to pack it in at 19, sail off to some other country or state or wherever it is they tell you to go and do the Lord's work. And I mean, you pay for it. You save up all this cash, then you're riding around on some bike in Ecuador or Greece or whatever, you know, knocking on doors, see? And it's a tough decision, you know, I thought. And so I just chose the college idea. I went that route. It looks like I'm losing you. I'm LDS, you know, Mormon. Yeah, see, and a mission is where you go. Oh, okay, so you know what I'm talking about. Good. I figured you did. I mean, Las Vegas isn't that far from... It must be getting late. I will be brief. Things took a bit of a turn for us last year. Well, actually, about a year and a half ago now. Me and my wife, our family, you know, we lost a child, a newborn, 5 months old. Just like that. It just happened. I was off that day. It was a Friday, I think. And Deborah, that's my wife, Deb. She was out. Her mom was staying with us. And they had gone to Safeway to get some milk. And she had put the baby down, Emma. That's what we named her. We named her Emma. And she had put Emma down in our bed, which we had been doing for the first few months, because we always thought that was a very good bonding thing. You know, I'd read that somewhere, or she'd heard about it in Relief Society, or something like that. But anyway, that's what she did. She tucked her in, and then out she went. And I was going to lay down with her. I really was. But I just went back out into the living room for a second, you know, to watch some Wheel of Fortune or something, you know. 5 minutes alone to myself a week, and I fell out. I fell off to sleep right there in the love seat by the window. Deb's mom, Emma's grandma, found her about a half hour after that. Yeah, she had smothered herself under the covers. Something about the weight of the comforter. It was this big old maroon and gold thing we'd gotten as a wedding gift, and it was huge. And, well, she'd suffocated. That's about as plain as you can tell it, right? Little thing. She died in our bed, tangling herself up in the blankets. Police had to come. They do that for any sort of infant death. That's what the officer said. And I had some time to get a hold of myself. I was still crying and all, but Deb just sat there next to me, just staring off, while this guy, this person, a detective, I suppose, was asking us questions, you know, just firing off this series of questions. All standard procedure, he assured us. But still, I mean, my God, we're sitting there on the edge of the sofa, the bed my daughter just died in. I can see down the hallway through a crack in the door, and this man is just pacing around and sucking on the chewed cap of a ballpoint pen. He asks me, "Did you check on her?" Oh, come on. What's he getting at anyway? That's a no-win, isn't it? I mean, think about it. If I didn't check on her, then I'm not a good father. Now, there's not anything he's going to say about that. But I carry the guilt, right? Maybe I could have prevented it. And if I did do the thing, if I had done what I was supposed to do, what I had planned on doing, the nap, then maybe she'd still be alive. Maybe. I just said, no, I didn't. I was going to, and off he goes. Just cuts me off. Just fine. And off he goes on some other tangent. She took my hand in hers. Deb did. Right after that. Just scooped it up in her tiny little fingers, and she held it there all the rest of that afternoon. And finally they were gone. I look around, front door slammed shut. It's empty, you know, the house. They had taken Emma out. The coroner had about a half hour earlier, wrapped up in this little zip-up bag, the kind that I carry my pressed shirts in when I'm traveling. I know I said I don't like to go on the road, and well, I didn't used to anyway. Let me finish. So Emma was gone, and then we ate dinner. We may have even ordered out. Oh, that sounds horrible, doesn't it? But we couldn't have Deborah standing over the stove, not right then. Seems to me like we had a pizza. Yeah, from Sparrow's at the mall. Yes, we had pizza. Deb holding my hand under the table, all through the silence. And then we went to bed. No, we couldn't sleep. We just laid there, whispering to each other. Under the sheets, just the two of us, like two school children, talking about things we hadn't mentioned in years. Just us under the sheets, nothing else. But after that night, me and Deb could never sleep with blankets on that bed again. That probably sounds odd, doesn't it? Well, we couldn't. Middle of winter, kids will be off at some ski trip in Aspen Grove or Sundance, and me and Deb would just huddle under the sheets together. Yeah. Still, today. The talking must have went on for hours, a few at least. And then some kissing. And, you know, finally we... Oh, come on, you're not that drunk. I don't need to tell it all to you. We did what you'd imagine you might do on a night like that. A moment when your entire universe has been changed forever. I don't know, but that may have even been the night that Joe was... That's our youngest, Joseph. Yes, named after our prophet. And I have a brother by the same name, so... Yeah. Joe came almost exactly 9 months later. And he's a great boy. He really is. And you know, over time and with the birth of a new child, life goes on. It does. And I know that that sounds strange. And I would never believe that if I heard another person say it. But then it happens to you. And it's true. You just go on. You do. You thank your Heavenly Father for giving you the strength to stand up to His trials. And you figure there must be some plan behind it all. Some reason for so much pain. And then you go on. You do. I mean, that's what we did. We went on. And more than that. I mean, much more than that. Hey, let me fill up your glass, okay? Or you're not going to be able... Hey, okay. Hey, if you're fine, then you're fine. I have gotten off the path somehow. Oh, all right. There was a problem. That's what started this all, you know. Got it all in motion originally in the first place. A problem at work. We had recently been taken over, which, no big deal, you know, in theory. It used to happen all the time back during the 80s. You know, someone else takes over and you lose a few of the stragglers, you know, guys who can't keep up. And when I say guys, I do mean everybody. All people. Because it was mostly women at that time. Not always, but a lot of the time it was. Yeah. Takeovers were an excellent way to get things back in order. You know? And that's not just me talking. It isn't. There's definitely an order to things in business. And the old boys on top, you know, the guys you never even see, just their faces in the paintings in the hallways, well, they like things the way they've always been. So that's when a bunch of these women with their MBAs and their affirmative action nonsense would get the boot. Nothing personal about it, you know. At least I never thought there was. You know? Just, you know, getting things spinning back the way they're supposed to be. But not this time. No. This time, it was going to happen, but no one could really tell which way things were going to end up. You know, everyone at my level, at mid-management level, they were pretty vulnerable. It had come down that we could count on 4 of us from the Salt Lake office. That's where I worked. I commuted in every day from Orem because of the standard of living that area afforded us, you know, that sort of thing. And it was just going to be up to fate as to who got the axe. Now, there's another cliche, huh? Well, I'm full of them. Or it, full of it. One of the two. I can't tell anymore! So, that was the story. 4 of us were going to go. 3 of which I and everyone else had a pretty good idea of. You know, 3 that should have gone a long time ago. But that last one, that spot, that was the tough call. I mean, there was me, who'd been steady and strong and average, you know, just average, slightly above. But someone they could count on, good sense of humor and all, for the past 7 years. Well liked. And I liked everyone. Most everyone. Well, there's this one woman, a few years younger than me. She'd come in with a wave of new hires about 4 years back. Just plain vicious. You talk about cliches, but she was a walking one. You know, the business suit and the blunt haircut thing going on. I can't ever remember seeing her smile. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. She knew her stuff. I knew that. We all did. And so did she, and she reveled in it. You know, the sales and the numbers. And it's the whole game. We'd gotten off badly. Actually, I had made a mistake once. A board meeting where I accidentally grouped her in with a "you guys oughta." But I'm talking about that side of the table. And she calls me out on it. First meeting, maybe second meeting she's ever been to, and she nails me out loud about my attitude, my limited chauvinist lexicon. and all this other just CRAP that she fires off. She walks out in silence. Me and some of the guys, we laughed it off over lunch, but I caught 1 or 2 of the women smiling to themselves as the meeting broke up. You know, a slight thing, but I caught it. And I always felt 1 step behind her after that. Like she made it her job to one-up me from that moment on. But she was one. Me and her, because the short time she'd been there, and a few other folks with about the same seniority as I had. And that's what hung over our heads. Each one of us, day after day as we'd go into work. I mean, it was coming. We knew that. Oh, it was going to happen. And all we could do was look at each other while we sat there waiting. You know the woman I was just talking about? Seriously, I almost expected her to do like a harassment charge at me or one of us. You know, just some trumped up garbage just to hang on to her job. She really did seem like that type. You know the kind. You can't even say hello to them without it meaning something, you know, something implied. And I personally find all that junk, all that female, no, I don't mean female. No. Feminist. I find all that feminist stuff just plain annoying. I do. And it's not the church talking here. It's not. And it isn't my upbringing either. I really do feel that way about this particular subject. And I know that that sounds horrible, and maybe I didn't even really feel that way, about her. But it's the kind of a thing that a situation like that one, a shake-up at work, it'll make run through your head. It does. Well, that's not the way it happened anyway. So I almost wish it had now. I got the call right before Deb left for Safeway. I took it in the den because it was coming in from Chicago, a friend from the home office. Actually, a guy I went to school with, calling me with a tip that he'd heard that day, and he wanted to let me know about it. It was me. I was the one that was going to make up the 4. He said he was so sorry and all. He's a really good guy. I stop by and see him whenever I'm in Chicago. We were these 2 big jokers in the U in the dorms together. And he said he was doing what any friend would do. Let me hear it from a friendly voice. Give me the jump. On the weekend, anyway. Before he hung up, he said it was just something that was going around, but he thought I should know about it. I couldn't even look at Deb. She called out to me on her way to the van, told me to crawl in, try to catch a snooze before the kids got back, and she'd be home soon. I just waved. I couldn't look at her, not right then. Just waved my hand. Was too busy looking around the house at all our things. All the things that we'd gathered, 10 years together. And just the house itself, and just all of it. I mean, what was I going to do? How was I going to keep it all going? The lifestyle that we'd grown accustomed to, and the seniority and the benefits. Jobs being as tight as they were, it just wasn't possible. Wheel of Fortune is blasting on the TV in the family room, and all these thoughts are just swirling around in my head, and I hear it. I wasn't asleep. I've tried to believe it and make myself believe it too, but I couldn't have been. Otherwise, I never would have heard her. The baby Emma. As I was standing there, I heard her cry out from inside the bedroom. I did. By the time I got to that doorway, she was already under those blankets. She was, I swear it. She was under them, and she was fighting to get out. It was almost like when your puppy as a kid or the family cat gets put under the blankets, just for a laugh. It was almost like that. This mound just wandering around in there. It was nearly absurd to walk in on something like this. I mean, you can never be prepared for a thing like that. And because of that specific part of it, the unreality, I was able to make the decision. In that moment, standing there watching my daughter fight for her life, I made my decision. This is very hard. Remember how I said I hated to waste things? Well, when I stopped and I looked at this rationally for even half a second, standing there in that doorway, I realized that that's what this was. An opportunity, and I wasn't going to waste it. Look, I'm just going to say this, because I know that this sounds a little... I walked into a room, and I stood there by the bed, and I picked the comforter up by one of its ends. And I could see her under there with her fine sandy hair and her little... I just coaxed her down a bit further with the edge of my foot. I turned her a touch and down. Then I dropped the blanket and I walked out. There was one more little sound Emma made. You could barely hear it. I just kept walking back out into the living room to the love seat. I laid myself down. I made myself go to sleep. Put a pillow over my head so I couldn't hear anything. And I just drifted off. But the point that I want to make here is that it did not have to happen that way. I took the risk. I took this calculated risk for my family that this whole episode would play out in our favor. Give me that little extra edge at work and maybe everything would be okay. Maybe they'd change their minds because, you know. But it didn't have to happen like that. What if Deb would have hurried a bit? What if she hadn't gone next door to look at a People magazine, or her mom didn't get a prescription filled? And then what? Maybe then she'd have been back in time and Emma would... Look, I know that this sounds strange, this way of thinking, but all I'm saying is that it was fate that took her. It's the whimsy of a lingering red light, or a prolonged chat with one of our neighbors in the produce aisle. Or what if I would have never even heard her cry out in the first place? And that could have happened. I could have laid down with her. I was going to. I could have fallen asleep and never even heard her. Then what? Who knows? It probably was going to happen anyway. And it did happen. So you go on. Like I said before, you just go on. I kept my job. I did. And guess who was the one? I mean, after all that, guess who was the one who got it right between the eyes? And I know that's a cliche, but boy, oh boy, what a great one it is. See, I even walked her out the day she left, her and the other three. This was several months after all that other... but I was right behind them, with a so long, and all that, we'll miss you. And then it came to me. Standing there with my friends all around, and that little... Well, she wasn't looking so strong anymore. Standing there in that open elevator, a box full of stuff in her hands. So as the doors are closing, I say to them all, but I'm staring straight at her. I say, you guys take care now. I said it just like that. And then they just slid shut. Oh, there's one more thing. I guess this is the thing that brought us together in the first place. I mean, the reason why I'm on the road so much. You might find this amusing. I did. I'm at this big seminar, a big yearly thing that the company puts on. This one was in Boston about 6 months back, and my friend from Chicago flew in for it, okay? So Anyway, it was after a morning session, and just in passing, at one point we were both in the men's room, and he says to me, he's just trying to lighten things up, so he mentions work and all the layoffs, and how glad I must be to have gotten rid of you-know-who. Then he says, boy, I really had you going that Friday, didn't I? I turned to him. I'm standing there at the urinal. My fly is open. And I turn to him. And the whole picture comes clear to me. Right then. What he'd done. What we always used to do to each other. See, he had heard what was really coming, and he just couldn't let it go without razzing me a little. And that's why he gave me that call. Let me stew about it over the weekend. He was going to call me back with the truth on Monday, but by then, he'd really gotten me. He got me good. Just like the old days. So I travel now. Same pay and everything. Actually, it's a little better. And I do some consulting for the regional branches, nationally sometimes. And it keeps me going. And I find that I really enjoy all the driving. It gives me time to just drive. Can't tell Deb. It would kill her. It would kill us. As a family, obviously, right? Can't tell anyone from church or the police, of course. So I chose you. I saw you when I walked into the lobby tonight, and I just chose you. So there it is. I'm finished. It's getting, yeah, it's late. You probably. Well, hey, thank you so much. Seriously. You have been so... Do you have any kids? No? Well, when you do, you be good to them. Okay? Because there's nothing like them in the world. Believe me. Do you mind shutting that light off on your way out there? I think I'm just going to sit here for a little while. You go ahead, really, I'll be fine. It's almost time for last call, so you should, I'll be fine. I will. Good night.